Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of World Talks here on TVP World, where every word matters. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and please join me and my guests on this next interview. As Ukraine continues to endure relentless Russian attacks on its energy infrastructure, the nation faces mounting challenges to maintain power supplies. Slovakia's recent threats to cut electricity exports to Ukraine have added complexity to an already dire situation. Meanwhile, Poland has pledged emergency energy assistance if Slovakia halts its support. How feasible is Poland's response, and what are the broader implications for regional cooperation during wartime? Joining us today on TVP World to discuss this is Vira Konstantinova, former foreign policy advisor to the chairman of the Ukrainian parliament. Hello, ma'am, and welcome to TVP World.
Good day, my pleasure.
So before we go deep into the detail, let's set the stage here. Just how dire is the energy situation in Ukraine currently?
I would say that you have mentioned during your introductory remarks that Ukraine suffered a lot due to Russian missiles and drone attacks on its critical and energy infrastructure. Thus, I can say that last year in 2024, it was 13 such attacks, complex, comprehensive attacks on our nuclear energy infrastructure as well. I mean nuclear because also the transmission system was hit by Russian missiles. As I should mention, because of occupation of Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, Ukraine had lost significant amount of generating capacity. But also, since the beginning of full-scale invasion of Russia, we lost several generating capacities, not only in eastern part of Ukraine, but also it was hit by Russian missiles in the west part of Ukraine. So I would say that despite attempts of Russia to blackmail, there is still an electricity supply in Ukraine due to the efforts of our European partners such as Poland as well as Slovakia. So it's critical for us to ensure the electricity supplies during the winter season, because not only heating but also electricity is very important for consumers, for general public. So it's important to ensure these supplies during this winter season.
Right, and speaking of Slovakia, that brings us to the question of how significant is Slovakia's threat to hold electricity to Ukraine, and how big of an impact would that be if that indeed happens?
Of course, I hope that we would have some kind of solution because Slovakia remained very active in the domain of energy security of Ukraine since the beginning of full-scale invasion. And of course, I hope that we realize that Ukraine granted this electricity not as a charity, but also Ukraine paid for this electricity and for these imports. So it's also a significant challenge could be for Slovakia in terms of budget revenues. So in this term, I believe that we would have some kind of conversations, negotiations involving our European partners, European Commission, because since March 2022, Ukraine is already a part of a so-called energy system of European Union, electricity system of European Union, the part of ENSO-E. That's why it's not only the issue of ensuring energy supplies and security of supplies to Ukraine, but it's also a huge threat to the stability within the European Union. Despite that, Ukraine is still out of the European Union, but we are a part of energy community and energy security of the European Union. So it means that we need to have a solution. Despite, political statements, it's important to have some kind of understanding between neighbors and between the countries that had already share some common concerns devoted to the Russian gas in Europe.
Right, so it does seem like Slovakia is still not yet a bygone conclusion. However, Poland did say that they are willing to step up if that indeed takes place, if Slovakia holds its energy transfer to Ukraine. Do you think Poland is well equipped and well prepared enough to fill in the gap that the void that Slovakia will leave behind?
I would say that, first of all, I would like to pay significant credit to our Polish colleagues, friends, and partners, because that's the other case when Poland helps or declared to help Ukraine in terms of tough times. So I believe that from technical perspective, again, there is a technical capacity for ensuring the additional imports to Ukraine. But at the same time, we need to understand that it's a huge opportunity for our Polish colleagues to become a strategic contributor to energy security, at least in Central Europe. I would say that it's important to understand some technical aspects. I wouldn't stress or pay significant attention to this, but I should mention that, for example, natural gas is used to produce electricity as well. So it means that for Polish leadership, for Polish strategic vision, it could be an option, for example, to ensure the additional supplies of natural gas using LNG terminal in Świnoujście. By the way, I have been there, and it's a significant project. It's a project of independence, I would say, as in our Lithuanian colleagues also has some kind of projects in this regards. So I believe that for Poland, it's a huge opportunity not only to become as some kind of energy hub, but also as a strategic energy supplier to Europe. I would say that there is a huge pressure on prices because of Russian full-scale invasion of Ukraine. We had the same problem with energy prices, because when we decided to diversify the energy supplies and routes, it had meant for general public, for consumers, the huge increase in energy prices. But at the same time, when it comes to the strategic thinking, I believe that this option, it could be managed. It could be managed due to several reasons. First of all, Ukraine, for example, we have a significant understored capacities. So, for example, European countries can buy additional gas via LNG routes, and then had the opportunity to store this additional gas in Ukrainian under storage capacities. That's an option, still an option, but at the same time, several steps had been made. But at the same time, the other option, for example, I had checked some kind of statistics, and I would say that several interesting moments should be mentioned. For example, Austria or Slovak Republic or Czech Republic, there is a huge opportunity, huge amounts of gas already in the storage of these countries. So there is an option for monitoring and for decreasing even the prices, because as I have already mentioned, during 2022, there was a significant fear that prices would be very high, but at the same time, we had passed 2022, 2023, and 2024 with some kind of slight increase in prices. It means that there is no energy shocks or energy crisis in the European Union due to steps had already made by the European leadership.
Right. You mentioned earlier that Russia has been weaponizing energy as one of its means of attack on Europe. And we do see Slovakia and as well as other countries' over-reliance on Russian energy eventually led them to have to take perhaps positions that are more unfavorable to Ukraine. Do you think Western allies have any way to kind of stabilize this energy supply and stave off the reliance on Russia in order for this not to be a problem again?
I believe that yes, because in terms of what has been already done, there is a significant increase in interconnectivity between European member states. And of course, there are a lot of projects that could be managed and could be an additional value for European Energy Union. So from my perspective, there is a significant impact on the first Russian gas wars in 2000s, to be honest. So since that period of time, the European colleagues had made significant steps forward energy diversification as well as ensuring security of supplies. But again, there is a significant change in markets, in European energy market, first of all, because of the diversification using LNG terminals, because of the diversification using some kind of interconnectors between states. So I believe that flexibility is really very high right now in terms of ensuring energy supplies. Of course, prices would be higher due to shocks that Russia could provoke.
Right,
But
of course,
again,
that's price of war, right?
since this year, I believe that there is no problems with that anymore.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your input and insight. Really appreciate it, and thanks for being with us on TVP World.
My pleasure.
Cheers. And thank you for watching this edition of World Talks. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.